Are we keeping the AC on?
Oh,
or should we?
How bad is
hear
it?
Can we axe it?
That's fine.
Yeah, sure.
Just turn around. Hope that
Oh, you clod. You fucking oaf.
You know what? Now I feel better about not having mopped like I said I was
Jesus
going to.
Christ. Yeah, you've been vindicated because that would have been very frustrating.
This is why I can't have nice things.
Like you wouldn't have done that otherwise.
You've never spilled coffee. The most shocking thing is that it's not on your balls right
No, the
now.
steam rising off the ground was awesome.
It looks like the Lion King.
Boy, it's hot too.
That's some hot coffee.
He would have actually hurt himself.
Now we have to leave the AC on. Try one more time to turn off the AC, or just leave it.
Oh God. Oh Jesus.
Something's just gonna catch fire.
Just an explosion. The thing falls out
he turns
and hits
it
a
up
dog
and immediately
downstairs.
just shits his pants.
There we go.
Oh,
All
you
right.
I
Ooh,
think
all
it's
right.
cool to
There we
act
go.
like Mr. Bean. When you try to do things, kind of end up like him. I saw somebody. I saw somebody
pedophile.
posting from our incel the other day.
Yes.
and it was like, "Do you think Mr. Bean is one of us?" And I retweeted it, and this fucking person who followed me was like, "Actually, Mr. Bean has a family, and he loves his daughter. He could never be red pilled." And it's like, I fucking hate being online now. It's like, I used to be able to say anything and people were like, whatever. And now if I even retweet something remotely implying anything about Mr. Bean, he has a family. Mr. Bean loves his family, you piece of shit.
Okay.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
What's up?
It's Chapo. It's your midweek Chapo. We're back. More importantly, Amber's back.
I'm back.
Finally, she's back, bitches. She was away this weekend, covering the rally to restore sanity in DC. No, wait, no, it wasn't that one. It was another rally in DC. We're
The
gonna
rally to restore insanity.
oh, twisted. But no, yeah, that's where I want to begin. Amber, you were in DC this weekend. There was the Juggalo March.
Yes,
and there was the sort of competing counter,
Moab.
the more.
The Moan.
But okay, so I definitely want to talk about the more rally, but let's begin with the Juggalo March. Correct me if I'm wrong. This march was planned because in response to the idea that the FBI has designated Juggalos as some kind of gang.
They have legally, and the way that the rally was organized was very interesting, and well, it was extremely well organized actually. But they had like a testimonials period where they had different juggalos come up and talk about the ways that they had actually been legally targeted due to this designation of gang involvement or whatever. And it was primarily Juggalo led. It was not, you did see some ACLU people there, but mostly they just kind of let people tell their stories. I went around and I talked to a lot of different people. I've got an article about it coming out in Current Affairs in a few days probably. And it was a really interesting demonstration. First of all, because it was a subculture, not so much a political designation, and I'll go into this more in the article, but I do think you kind of risk something when you try to ascribe a political ideology to a subculture, and we saw that happen. I think
a lot of that was going on. I mean, obviously we all saw it, this weekend because the idea was, like DSA people were there, and there was this idea that there could be sort of a fruitful collaboration, perhaps, reaching out from the left to this subculture. Yeah,
I mean, you should definitely always talk to working class people, but I think there is oftentimes the assumption that like a subversive subculture is necessarily on the side of progressive values or something, which hasn't been necessarily historically true, and I think that the best example you saw of it, and I'll talk a little bit more about this at some point, but or in the article, but was Angela Nagel's writing about like the early treatment of like sort of online subculture, And academia was like really excited about it. They're like, oh, look, this is great. And then, it turned into like a horrible, monstrous.
It became Imgur.
Yeah. And so the idea that something is transgressive doesn't necessarily make it's good. But I got to say, like, everyone who I talked to there had a pretty sophisticated understanding of the issue. And when you asked them what they were there for, they generally answered, not with like a dumb, petulant rallying cry of free speech, but like a legitimate left-wing defense of free speech.
How were they? Were they cool? What were they doing?
I mean, it was a super nice vibe. The interesting thing to me is that it was full of like families.
Family.
I mean, literal families. There were a lot of kids there.
You sent us
varying ages.
a adorable photo of a Juggalo child who just came up to you and embraced you.
Yeah, I was talking to.
You got ringworm now, by the way. Congratulations.
I was talking to her father, and talking to them about where they came from and everything, and I was saying hi to the kids, and I, waved at the little girl, and she just ran up and like threw her arms around my leg. And I gotta say, it was a much more diverse array of people that I anticipated. You'll probably see the Black Juggalos Matter sign in the various articles that are coming up. Also, a lot of great signs, by the way, that like a real sense of humor about the whole thing. Very self-deprecating kind of group of people. The best sign I think was, "We know how magnets work."
The music. There was a concert, right?
Yeah, but and here's the thing I want to make perfectly clear. ICP is a terrible band.
That's awful.
You don't
It's not good.
like I'm accused of vulgar workerism all the time, and whatever this sort of portrayal of the workers as heroic or whatever. I'm absolutely not. I love the people I come from, but we have produced some disgusting cultural products. I mean, ICP is literally the bottom barrel, maybe let's say the worst product of white working class culture in the past 20 years. But here's the thing, bad taste is not a crime.
Not until I have something to say about it.
You're literally wearing Crocs right now, so I don't want to hear it.
They're therapeutic. They're medical Crocs.
Yeah, why are you wearing them with socks?
The sleeve of your shirt says "Let's go cow tipping."
Yeah, you're literally.
Is that a prescription
you're
shirt?
Just
Are you
a
Arthur
different
Chu?
kind of Midwestern piece of shit.
They are literally. I'm not kidding. They are medically necessary right now. I don't want to get into it, but they're I ordered
Really?
them.
So what about the "Let's Go Cow Tipping" shirt?
Because it's a proud heritage. What?
It's about family.
Matt is gonna march around Big Lot saying they will not replace us.
But sweet group of people. I think you should never take for granted that, whatever the working class is inherently socialist or whatever. But these are rational, clear-minded people who have a sense of, have a sense that they shouldn't be oppressed or marginalized. The thing that I would point out is that in many ways, juggalos are in fact normies. And some of the signs you would see are like, I'm a nurse, I'm a teacher, whatever, and I'm a juggalo. And most people, normal people, and I think the sort of like designation of normies is sort of important here, don't make politics a central part of their life. They're dealing with their daily lives. So the presumption that, every working class person you meet is, your comrade just waiting to happen is not necessarily true. You actually have to do some work and talk to people and not condescend to them. And talk about your program, talk about how they can change their lives for the better.
Yeah, I mean, most people in America, probably the breakdown of it is like they think that like Bradley Cooper is president, and like Jennifer Lawrence is Hillary Clinton. Like, they don't know. Most people have no idea what the fuck is going on. But
people
I
are
think
rational and know they're being fucked over.
right, exactly. These people know what's going on directly with them, with the FBI categorizing it as a gang and all the implications that come with that. And the same thing can happen with healthcare, but it's not just a question of going out there and going like, hey, you're poor, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was wondering about, the prospects for, rose emoji people reaching out to basically everyone Michael Hudson has profiled on his account and what that would look like or how fruitful that could potentially be. And
Well, I think this group was particularly like self-selecting group of, active and, activist-minded people among a larger, shall we say, Juggalo community.
do you think that the is there
Like
sort
if
of
you go on the message boards, you will still find, horrible shit.
right? But overall, the overall atmosphere at the Juggalo March you found to be positive and encouraging, or just sort of positive, but sort of in a
promising.
vague,
And
promising
I
in a
think if they had
political
another
sense?
one, I would hope to see, like DSA there, maybe tabling for healthcare or something. I think a lot of them, they're working class people. They would be very amenable to it.
But reaching out,
Free speech is a left-wing value.
Yeah.
they've already got a foot in the door at least. And, I'm sure there are some, I think Gavin Mueller has written about this. There are at least some, socialist juggalos.
but if you are going to reach out on the basis of an issue
Not
like
an
healthcare,
identity.
not an identity like being working class or being a comrade or anything like that.
I mean, you don't assume people are already comrades is the thing. You don't assume, Juggalo is inherently, some kind of noble subaltern subject that, immediately has all of their kind of ideological ducks in a row. Most people don't have their ducks in a row because most people aren't fucking loser nerds like us who think about politics all day.
I do think
I
that
don't even.
you could
You
could
mostly
do well.
lift weights.
Yeah.
You could do well to reach out to them on a platform of universal health care and getting rid of fake people.
Yeah, if
They're
you,
very anti-fake
I think
friends.
they're very, very against fake friends.
well, I was thinking about this today because little peek behind the curtain, we're working on setting up an office, and just the struggle, my struggle of getting internet set up in the office. I was thinking about the 96 Telecom Act a lot, where they basically told companies that, only one telecom could operate per area. They could establish these de facto monopolies, and it results in these horrible data caps and fucking unaccountable shit companies. And you think, like, everyone hates Comcast. Everyone hates Time Warner. Everyone hates whatever fucking service they have to use. But no one is really trying to grasp that energy of the day-to-day degradation and humiliation and rage people feel in their lives of having to deal with monopolies and companies like this. But, you could channel, if you directly appeal to that, that could be a really fertile voting block.
Absolutely.
People who
It's about
fucking
meeting
hate
people
Comcast,
where
yeah.
they are. Again, most people, it is a weird, abnormal, nerdy thing to, take a moment and step out of the just daily struggle of trying to manage your quotidian bullshit and think about larger political structures. So you talk to people about what they're actually suffering through. And I'm telling you, if you go on these Juggalo message boards, you'll see so many people who are like, I have to get emergency surgery. So-and-so has gone missing. I mean, there's a lot of very, disenfranchised people in this subculture. That's a large reason why it has exploded, and that's the reason why it was born out of something like post-industrial Detroit.
Yeah, and most of the time people are just too beaten down to say anything anymore. Yeah. And the question is, like, how do you bring that energy to how do you go to them and say, well, no, don't be totally defeated by life and just resign to an existence of surviving and trying to not get noticed by the pointy parts the oligopoly.
Yeah,
that you face
forget
everywhere.
about it. Just live your life. Try and get through, and go to the gathering every few months or whatever.
Yeah.
It makes sense, and the fact that there's some like kind of hedonism and frolic to this is like that is something that I recognize as being very working class. That's very like, hey, watch this. Not exactly as scared of death as you should be. Like, that's very, anyone who's grown up in, like, rural, destitute America recognizes that kind of hold my beer, wildness.
Watch this, yeah. Before we move on, I want to give a quick shout out to Brett and Brian of Street Fight, who are also at the Juggalo March. They put together a really cool video.
They were actually like moshing.
They were moshing in front of the Lincoln Memorial.
I was
covered
hanging
in
out with like
Faygo.
the moms.
Yeah. They got properly Faygo soaked for their on the ground reporting. So I would urge you to check out Street Fight. They have a video up now about it, and just check out Brett and Brian in general. They've done some good work on Juggalos and reaching out to the Juggalos because they basically are Juggalos, I suppose.
They just kind of are.
Juggalo adjacent, certainly.
Brett and Brian also put out an amazing
dabble.
zine if you subscribe to them, which you absolutely should. And their show is great.
Consider this just an all-around plug for Street Fight and Street Fight Boys. So that was the Juggalo March. That was like the main event. That was why most people were there. However, there was also this sort of counter rally, the mother of all rallies.
Yeah.
And,
well, it wasn't even really a counter rally. They just scheduled the rallies on the same day.
oh, okay. So it wasn't conscious counter
It was a classic
programming.
sitcom mix 'em up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there was like one group of sort of marginalized, sometimes loathed white people, and then there were juggalos as well, is what you're saying.
Zing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Although I gotta say, the mother of all rallies, which had like 200 fucking people at it.
Snap. Oh, shit.
I think
To be fair,
I
that's
was
a good
there-
reference because it is, the mother of all wars is what Saddam said the first Gulf War was going to be, and that shit was over in about a week.
Yeah.
So.
Mother of all rallies, it's kind of like the prom that Marge put on for Lisa. Where she made her own Pepsi.
It was the mother of all rallies, but the mother was Andrea Yates.
At one point there was a bigger swell, I think, of people, but it was extremely small. It was like, it was so small. I think like Spencer, from the safety of wherever he is, his mother's basement, was like dunking on them and being like, "This is pathetic. You're embarrassing."
So
but it was a really strange demographic.
Who
of right-wingers.
attended the mother of all rallies?
Oh my God. So it was super weird. So you've got like MAGA chuds, which
The Snowball Man.
is a more it's a more kind of diverse group of chud now. There's like a weird kind of highly plastic surgeried trophy wife walking around a lot. A lot of them are Eastern European too. I saw like 5 or 6 of those with their like dumpy, near-death, heart diseased husbands.
Eastern Europe, you say. The part of Europe that's closest to Russia.
Dun dun dun.
It's time for a tweet storm, folks.
Well, I mean, Republicans love getting married to people from those Borat countries. It's true. They always
Because
have.
it's sort of like
Well, they heard that you could get a my wife there.
they think it's like I think they like it because it's like modern enough that it's like not a complete culture shock, but they think that like feminism and multiculturalism hasn't
yeah, they
fully
never got any of
saturated.
that. They never got any of that stuff.
They like it because it's literally like a. I mean, there's a really good article in Dissent magazine about this called "Don't Bang Denmark," and it talks about how
this is the Roosh thing, right?
yeah,
Where he couldn't get laid in Denmark because all the women were like, "Fuck
right.
off."
You basically want to go to a place where half the population is addicted to crocodile, and then women will marry you because their standards are so low.
Yeah, after the fall of the Soviet Union was the best thing for guys with triple anginas to get laid.
Yeah.
Because they were desperate. These guys can basically buy them like it's a ski-doo.
And now feminism has created a sexual hierarchy that has, left so many good chuds behind.
Did you talk to any of the chuds?
I did talk to the
Okay,
Chuds.
so
Yeah.
what did you
I
ask
talked to
them?
actually like every kind of flavor of the rainbow of
Okay.
the mother of all
Well,
rallies.
what did you-
It's a very white rainbow. But,
What did you ask them, and what were some of the things they said about, I guess, why they were there?
well, I kind of asked, like, hey, why are you here? And mainly their answers were to support Trump, for patriotism, things like that. Bikers for Trump. Also same thing. You had some real troops oriented people there too.
Sort
A lot of
oath
people who
keepers,
definitely
like 3%er kind of thing.
well, a lot of people definitely were associated with like extremely marginal Republican candidates too, and there were people canvassing and tabling for basically like a Pennsylvania Trump who was running for, I think, state senator or something.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite part of the Alex Jones rally before the RNC last summer. Was the absolute fucking hucksters who'd showed up
Yeah.
to just scam these rubes out of campaign donations. This one guy was running against like Elijah Cummings or something, and he was clearly just some dude who knew what was up and was getting in when the money was good. It was pretty funny.
It was very weird though, because they look like some of these people who were, whatever, trying to woo the Chuds just looked like lanyard dicks.
Yeah. They're just like, hey, you're the new weirdos I have to pretend that I like.
That I
I'm
don't
not
hold
horrified by.
absolute contempt for. Then there were bikers for Trump.
Those
there
fucking
were
assholes.
I love those guys.
I hate those fucking
I had like a weird panic moment where I literally thought I saw my dad,
douchebags.
and I like panicked, and then I was like, oh no, they just like all kind of like form like a copper colored sheen after a while, and the hair kind of mats from not wearing a helmet because helmet laws are oppressive, and that's why they tend to like crack open their skulls like watermelons.
Let's hope so. Those guys are all fake though. They all have boring jobs and they love cops. Those
Well,
are the
there are
assholes I
some of
saw
them.
shaking the cops' hands.
Well, my dad was a
Before a
biker,
rally.
and they always had he was usually a dentist or something who got like a Harley for his like 40th birthday, and they would like use his garage to like hide weed or something. So like there is like a heavily middle class small business owner segment of bikers. I'm sure some of those people were actually just weird, indigent, Sons of Anarchy watching like LARPers or something. But they definitely had the full biker aesthetic down.
The best Facebook group I ever saw was Bikers Sworn to Protect Barron Trump. And to this day, flawless record.
Yeah.
No one has harmed Barron.
It's true. Yeah.
You're making fun of them, but they have 100% protected him.
So like, okay, so there's
there were
sort of,
militia guys too.
there's the MAGA chuds, there's the militia guys, there's the bikers for Trump. You talk to them. Were any of their responses interesting or surprising, or were they just like, we're here to support Donald, we love the president, we love America, that kind of shit?
I would actually say that they were sort of the basic bitches of the far right. Like it was just
Yeah.
very like troops, Donald. It's when the speakers went up and we're talking about like one of the speakers, I think like her entire credentials was that like she comes from a military family.
Okay.
And she was just like, my grandfather was in the army and my other grandfather was in the army, and cultural Marxism is coming to indoctrinate our young people. And it's like, who are you? What are you doing here? But I don't think they could get any like big names, so they just got like a blonde girl.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
They,
so what
they
about-
keep making those.
There's the basic bitches, the people, they're wearing Uggs. They have the red hat on, What about did you see any like the Keck people? I saw a couple photos of a guy in like a green robe. And
Yeah,
like,
there was that
Cool.
guy. I couldn't figure out his deal, but he was like dressed like a druid, but he was also wearing, I think, like Nikes. So like he had like the cloak, but then like Bono sunglasses, and but like it was very anachronistic, and I couldn't figure out his thing. But he talked to me, but he didn't make any sense. Surprise, surprise.
Like, what did he say?
Well, I was like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And he was like, "Well, I believe in traditional values." And he sort of scampered off into the woods like a little sprite. It didn't make any sense. But I mean, that's any demonstration. There's going to be crazy people. But on the right, I guess I just don't have I can't draw a bead on who the druid guy was. Like, I'm not sure what strain of conservatism that is.
Oh, that's Buckleyan warlockism. But so this was after Trump announced a deal with Schumer and Pelosi about DACA, which like kind of pissed off most of the more interesting stars of the far right, the AAA names like no Fap Jack or racist Gundam. So were people like mad about that deal, or were they just the kinds of people who were like, no, whatever Trump does, I'm with it?
Yeah, they all seem to be kind of Trump loyalists.
Yeah.
It's just that aesthetically, they were very subcultural. Like the militia guys, at one point, there was literally a standoff because Antifa was there. And you saw like all of these militia guys, again, all of whom kind of looked like my dad, just extremely tanned and very creative facial hair. And wearing like fatigues, but I don't know for what army. I don't know. Very fond of the color olive. And so there was like this olive barricade around Antifa, who are all in like red and black. And then you had the Proud Boys surrounding them. And it looked like a weird kind of picnic because the Proud Boys were wearing they looked like bees with like the yellow and black. And they were trying to get to the beautiful red fruit, but there was like this green barrier. Because part of the Proud Boys like thing is that they have to like beat up someone from Antifa or whatever.
Yeah,
that's one of their. But
did anyone get an opportunity to?
No,
earn their
actually, because the
stripes?
militia guys were guarding them, and I watched like this very strange interaction because. I mean, like, I'm not trying to paint militia guys in a good light here because, like, obviously they just want to be cops, but had a record.
They failed the physical or psychiatric.
Yeah,
exam.
but they were like, saying things like,
heavy,
"Look,
sir."
they have a right to be here and to demonstrate. We believe in freedom of speech, which
Good for them.
Yeah, and they might have prevented some Antifa from actually being beat up because all the men were built like Adam Friedland and like it was like half women or whatever, and like the Proud Boys are actually, and I really do mean to damn them with faint praise here, probably the best physical specimens of the far right. Like they could probably hit someone.
I don't know.
I mean, by comparison, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not in like
that image of them
mobility
from
scooters.
in Houston, like up to their like knees in swamp water in that suburban cul-de-sac, was not a very impressive.
Well,
or intimidating
they
image.
probably send the elite to the DC event.
Yeah.
The guys who wait around in toxic sludge hoping to shoot a looter and giving themselves grayscale probably aren't the A team.
Well, I asked the militia guys like what was going on, and like we're just having a conversation, we're making sure no violence happens or whatever, and of course they then dispersed because they only want to beat up Adam Friedlands. They don't want to get in an actual fight with like some weird militia guy.
Were the
who's
militia guys
probably
armed?
They did not look armed. They just crossed their arms in front of their chests, but I don't know. They had a lot of pockets and tactical gear.
They were armed. They were armed with logic and reason.
Now,
I'm sure they all own like I don't know, like boat dealerships or something.
Now you mentioned that you talk to the chuds, the bikers, the oath keepers, the weird keck people. However, the one group you said that you didn't
Proud
get.
Boys would not talk to me. Would not talk to me. And I tried multiple times.
They knew you're from. They have message discipline. They know you're from the leftist media.
I have I don't even think that's it.
No, they're afraid of
They're
girls.
afraid of girls.
They're afraid of girls.
They're afraid of
is what-
girls.
yeah.
So like I went up to like after I talked to the woodland sprite right winger, I went up and tried to talk to some Proud Boys and said, hey, so are you with the Proud Boys? And they're like, yeah. And then like two other guys suddenly like come from the crowd to kind of flank the guy, in case I was feeling froggy.
Everyone feels froggy at the alt-right rally. Hey.
And I said, so what are you doing here today? And they're like, we can't really talk to you. The mainstream media has been very unfair to us. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm actually with a small magazine. They're like, that's even worse. We have to go. We believe in peace, love, and capitalism. And then they just ran off. And I was like, well, that was weird. And then I saw this other guy actually talking to a member of a solo Proud Boy, talking to a member of the press, at least someone with a microphone. And I was like, okay, so this guy's amenable. And I go, hi, are you with the Proud Boys? And he goes, nope. And he turns around and like walks away. So then I'm like, okay, like clearly there's some sexism at play here. And you know what? I was a little hurt.
If you told them that you were a housewife, they would have had to venerate you.
Yeah, I should have worn a
I'm
ring.
with Home and Garden magazine.
I should have worn a ring. So then I tried with a group of them that were wearing shorts, which I figured must be the lowest tier. No offense, Matt.
They haven't earned their pants yet.
Yeah, they haven't earned their
wearing
pants.
Shorts is
and they
the
just
most alpha
immediately turned around and walked away. And at some point, I realized like this was like very strange to me because, as you know, before I moved to New York and started dating nothing but Jews with advanced degrees from Ivy League colleges, I dated guys that just wore Fred Perrys and crossed their arms constantly. Because that, where I'm from, has like left subcultural significance. And I just think that if you're going to walk around dressed like that, you should expect the attention. I mean, they were kind of asking for it.
Yeah, going out dressed like that, wearing it with their cool undercuts. I'm gonna go out and fucking shoot some loads, bust some ropes all over some Proud Boys this weekend. I just can't resist it.
You know what? I mean, they're dressed like sluts.
Well,
but then I like literally ran into one in my hotel. And I was like, "Oh, hey!" Just turned around. He literally ran to the elevator.
so like I said, this sounds like they're very disciplined. They know that like they have not gotten a fair shake in the media. Every time they try to explain that they're a fraternal organization dedicated to not jacking off, breakfast cereals,
People
and
laugh at them.
and venerating the housewife, and not being racist against white people. Like they can't. People laugh at them. Exactly. They act like it's not
They're
serious.
not getting a fair shake.
Sir, permission to talk to a girl. Permission denied, Proud Boy level 2. You do not have the requisite training to talk to the female sex.
By the
It's
way,
just so strange. Literally everyone, I mean, let's be honest, I don't look like an alt-right reporter or someone who's sympathetic to that, but everyone was willing to talk to me except the Proud Boys.
You look like you could be from Identity Finlandia.
By the way, I remember reading something about like in the Proud Boy rules and regulations in their operating manual. You can jack off once a month, I believe.
Well,
if you
that's at a
must.
certain level.
At a certain, you can jack off once a
Only
month.
when you're an operating Thetan.
However, you can jack off at any time if it's in front of a woman.
Yeah.
Whether that's like on the
Because they
subway
think
or
that's
bus or
sex.
anything, that
They
means just
think that's
anyone.
sex.
Yeah. Because
Well,
that counts as
a hell of a
sex.
loophole.
Yeah.
The
Baby.
thing about this particular subculture is that it was formed by Gavin McInnes saying that like you're all like, castrated, none of you can talk to women, and like there is something to that. Like there's something like deeply alienated about these weird young men that like look kind of normal, like compared to alt-right people. Like there's no goiters. Like
Compared to the
they're
guy-
relatively healthy
yeah.
young.
There's that
men.
one dude who's at all of those things who wears plastic frame glasses and he has huge thick liver lips and he looks exactly like if Pepe was turned into a human being.
I look like if Pepe was turned into a human being.
This guy looks exactly
I'm
like Pepe.
slightly
It's
amphibious
horrifying.
looking. That's why I think the alt-right guys become very fixated on me online. But because they want to fuck the frog. They literally want to fuck
They
the
do want to
frog.
fuck the frog. That's pretty obvious.
The name's Kermit Jagger. My father's Mick Jagger, and my mother's a frog. He fucked a frog.
But like there is some weird anxiety about women that like that this subculture has clearly not helped them with, and it's because they've turned not getting laid into a literal identity. I mean, like, that is an identity politics now. There's like the incel forums.
I thought like the Proud Boys is not they're not jacking off, but I thought like they're all about going out and like hitting on chicks together and like drinking beer.
They
and,
dress like
and
men that
picking
hit
up-
on chicks,
and, like,
but
and
they
pick up
don't.
women and stuff.
No,
and, like,
no. But the idea is to, at some point, find a partner and produce, more Western children. But they don't. I don't think the polo shirt has helped them.
So they're this weird kind of like alt-light, blood and soil kind of, not racist though, sort of social club that they feel they haven't gotten a fair shake in the media because of how fucking ridiculous they are just inherently. Should we be concerned about the Proud Boys, or is this just funny?
They're literally scared of women, so no.
Okay, yeah.
Like, if they become a problem, like, just send girls over there to scare them away.
Yeah.
Like, there's a deeply, like, sexual pathology about these young, seemingly physically normal men. I don't know, maybe they all have weird dicks or something, but like, there's nothing physically wrong with them.
But the sexual anxiety and sexual paranoia undergirds so much of this stuff. Not with like the bikers for Trump or the 3%er people.
They're
right?
normal.
They're normal.
They are. They're depressingly fucking normal.
Yeah, they're
I
very-
remember,
they're so
I've said
regular.
this before, but when I went to the RNC rally, the biker for Trump head, his speech was talking about how Jay Leno was showing everyone that motorcycles are actually cool, and it doesn't mean that you're a criminal to like motorcycles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're like a biker for Trump, like, you have a fucking great life, dude. You wake up, you're like in your email group, and someone sends you like a picture of like a fat guy in a Speedo, and you reply with like a great normie joke like, you have issues, or like, thanks for that mental image, and it's just like the funniest shit you've ever seen.
They go to Outback with their bright orange wives and have a good time.
They fucking pork their
absolutely do,
wives.
yeah.
Yeah, they pork their wives. Their wives have to say 5 breakfast cereals while they pork them to get to wife level 3. And then they fucking watch TBS, and it's like the best shit. They're like,
They're
I love the
writing
new
Noah
show.
Dads.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Their kids are going to like school, like to fucking, they're in a frat to like learn how to look more like a ham by the time they get older.
They can talk
They
to
have
you.
fucking
They're
great
socially
lives.
competent
Yeah,
racists.
They, in DC, they would like go up and talk to me because they're like, I don't know why they would talk to me. They would like talk to me a lot.
Well, Felix, is what you said like when we were in DC. It's like they all have large sons who they think are going to be natural athletes as soon as they start playing football.
Yeah, they're like, all right, dude, we've worked on my son a lot. We've been giving him pizza rolls every hour for 19 years. The moment he touches the gridiron, he's going to turn into
be
fucking-
unstoppable.
into Richie Incognito, just on virtue of him being fat. But no, like when we were in DC, Matt would just walk by them and just be like, "Fuck you," just hiss at them.
I didn't yell at it. I was always
You were,
under
like
my
hissing
breath.
it. You were hissing it, but
You're
like,
not always aware of your volume.
yeah,
It's very, very normal volume.
there's Proud Boys and there's Loud Boys, and that's what you are. But I would just go outside, and I was like, well, I was a Trump delegate, so I wasn't doing that. But
Right.
they would talk to me a lot, and it was like, I was just like, wow, yeah, these guys are so fucking regular. They would be like, they would be like, yeah, I own a boating supply store, and it just like, I'm just happy that another businessman is in there.
Yeah, like that's literally them. And I think the Proud Boys are all, I don't know,
The Proud Boys,
stocking
the thing-
shelves at Costco.
No, they're like the thing is they do not want to apologize for making the modern world. That's what they mean
They
by,
did that.
by white
They did
people. But
do
I'm just
that.
like, well, you didn't do anything. No one's asking
Yeah.
you to apologize for creating anything.
Yeah, you
because
didn't create
haven't created
shit.
No one noticed
even
until you bought that
You can't even
shirt.
create ropes because you don't jerk off.
That's such like a childish thing. I didn't even ask to be born. I didn't ask to do the Gutenberg Bible. Shut up.
Actually, I mean, this is sort of a digression, but we were talking about Pepe and the alt-right. The other really funny thing that happened this week, did you see this thing where Matt Fury is suing Baked Alaska for using Pepe on his book cover?
He walked right into a legal
And like
bear
this
trap.
is fucking amazing because like I love this phenomenon now of these like extremely online guys like venturing, sort of interacting with the world, not online for the first time, and being amazed by like very basic facts of like legal system in the adult world.
It's hilarious.
They're really mad because like Baked Alaska's like, no, I cannot be sued for using Matt Fury's drawing on the cover of my book because he didn't draw it. I had a graphic designer just copy it exactly. Yeah. And I'm just like, dude, just get your graphic designer to say that exact sentence on the stand and you'll be fine.
Legal
And that's why my book that had Mickey Mouse on the cover can't be sued because it was not drawn by Walt Disney. So I'm set.
Yeah.
That's actually what Mouse was. They set the famous Mickey Mouse precedent.
One of the people who defended him was saying because they pulled it temporarily, I guess, from Amazon now. Because there was a judge did one of those thingies that I can't remember the name of. What do you
Cease
call
and
them?
desist?
No, yeah, something like that.
DMCA, I think.
And somebody said, "Wow, is this book gonna get included in Banned Books Month?"
Yes.
I don't think so.
100%.
That's what they think banning books is?
Yeah.
The Scarlet Letter, N.
And so Baked Alaska was like, wow, getting sued by the creator of Pepe. What a time we live to be alive, or whatever. And my joke about that was like, yeah, what a time, unlike all those other times when you could just blatantly violate copyright laws to sell a shitty book. And this is a lot of copyright laws is dumb, like there's intellectual
But just
property
how
is
baffled they are.
but like they're baffled by the concept of it.
Yeah, the concept.
And the best response to that was one of Baked's fans was like, Matt Fury killed the Pepe character in his own comic strip. Therefore, it is now public domain.
So he's making a canon argument.
Yes. Where's Virgil when you need him?
You remember in the first Matrix, the most important movie ever made, where we got the phrase canon from, the Matrix canon. When Neo dies in the hallway the first time before he comes back to life, that's when Neo became fair use. You notice, like, after that, everyone started dressing up like Neo because it was cool, yeah. And it was legal, 100% legal.
There were all those Neo branded food restaurants and laundromats.
Good food restaurants.
Well, this is good because I want to move from one fertile crescent of male sexual paranoia into another with our reading series this week.
Mr. Get It Wet. Mr. Don't leave your girl outside because Mr. Dreher is coming down
actually, this is a double tap reading series. I'm going to get to Dreher in a second, but the first one I want to highlight was the one I know a lot of people saw this week. This is we're dipping back into the Federalist.
Ooh,
Always
yeah,
good.
hell yeah.
The horniest website, the most simultaneously normal and horny website in existence.
Hell yeah, dude. They call me Mr. Federalist. They call me half a pump. They call me Mr. Email her for the first time talking about what our kids will be named.
This is a great article they had this week. By an author named, again, this is like Charles Dickens created the Federalist and basically all the conservative media, in that all of their names just sound like perfectly like the thing they are. This article is by Jared Labor. Jared Labia, J. Rod Labor. I mean, there's a lot.
That's not my name, Dad.
There's a lot. You could do a lot with this name, Jared Labor. The headline is: Your refusal to date conservatives is one reason we have Donald Trump.
Sure.
Subhead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very plausible.
Subhead.
This is literally the Proud Boy argument: is
Yeah.
that a sexual hierarchy has left behind good men, and it's our fault. It's women's fault.
I'm sorry, but white men vote Republican whether or not they're getting laid. That's just a fact.
Yeah, that is also the other thing, is that like most normal Republicans do get laid.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is just you.
Yeah, they crush Boone. I fucking me and my boy Diabetic Jerry, we fucking laying pipes side by side like Bob Crane and his boy, just fucking
John Carpenter.
Yeah, No, I said Bob Crane.
And his boy was John Carpenter, not
Was
the
it?
director. His name was John
okay,
Carpenter.
okay.
It was not the movie director John Carpenter.
It was John Carpenter. This isn't satire, 100%. I'm a sexual anarchist, and that means that I think women should fuck me even if I'm wearing basketball shorts. No hierarchy.
That's one of the
Every-
reasons we
every-
have Donald Trump as president.
Every
Yeah.
bright red weirdo in a Speedo who's getting blown at Hedonism 2 votes for Trump.
Oh yeah, Trump
yeah.
is like the number one candidate for sex nerds because those people would usually vote libertarian, but Trump was like he spoke to them.
No,
Trump is also a sex nerd.
exactly. He's like a sex nerd who's it'd be like a kid who was really into Lord of the Rings, but who'd only ever seen the Ralph Bashki version on cartoons. He never read the books, so he doesn't really get all of the references.
Yeah.
But he's really interested in it.
Trump probably has had his dick rotoscoped. So.
I don't think Donald Trump has ever like taken his jacket off to have sex.
That's absolutely true. He's never been fully nude in the presence of
Yeah.
a woman.
So the subhead for the article here is OkCupid will let users indicate their support for abortion. This type of assortive mating is one factor that allowed for the rise of a candidate like Donald Trump.
What? People saving time?
Assortive mating.
Assortive mating is a phrase that comes up again and again. But what I like about this piece is that I think it's indicative of a broader trend in the sort of conservative content factories, where the setup is just blank is the reason why Donald Trump is president. And this is really good for an outlet like the Federalist or the National Review or the Weekly Standard or whatever, because they can distance themselves from the phenomenon of Trump, but essentially blame it on all of their same, the boogeymen that they've all it just, the blank is always something that is any political belief outside the hard right or any cultural tick that would seem alienating or frightening to Rod Dreher. Yeah. So Jared writes here, the popular dating website OkCupid announced Wednesday that it would make the online dating scene a little easier for progressives who can't risk interacting with someone with whom they disagree. Imagine the horror. They announced a partnership with Planned Parenthood that allows site users to put a badge on their profile signifying support for the nation's largest abortion provider, much the way Facebook became saturated with similar kinds of profile pictures during the newest disaster.
Yeah, except Facebook isn't literally used to get laid. This is literally, I'm glad we're just all being honest about what OkCupid is now.
Yeah, it's a dating app. Or a sex app.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a sex app.
It's a sex app.
So, information about, how do you feel about abortion is, in fact,
It's very
probably
important.
the first piece of data that people
You don't want
to
some
know.
fucking weirdo following you around for months going, that's my seed!
Yeah.
You must bear my seed!
Yeah, fucking
He seemed normal, but then
Okay,
As soon as he found out I got pregnant, he started speaking in tongues.
OkCupid is like fucking 75% disgusting slam poets of just male and female or whatever who want to enter a poly relationship before they teach a class about writing at the community college. It's 75% of the people, and the 25% who are anti-choice, you should weed them out.
yeah.
That's against market efficiency.
So what you're saying is your best bet for OkCupid is a slam poet slam piece.
Yeah.
Hell
Yep. Exactly.
So he goes on.
This
He
is why
says,
I've never done online dating. It sounds disgusting.
it's hard.
Caught in the wild, you animals.
It's hard not to see this as a reaction to the rise of President Trump, as Planned Parenthood has long been a political football tossed back and forth between left and right. Although dating sites have never made such an overt venture into politics. But obviously he doesn't know about Hannah Date.
Yeah, dude.
But in our current bizarre world of politics, this represents a widening chasm between those who are most politically active, causing people to see an opposing viewpoint as an all-out assault on their personhood. The irony is that this type of assortive mating OkCupid is encouraging is one factor that allowed for the rise of a candidate like Trump.
Yeah, literally no one has ever, before having sex with someone, been like, maybe I should see if this person is a psychopath or not. Not until the internet. Before women were just whatever. He has a cabin, he has a manifesto, but he's got a really great jawline.
Assortive mating is when someone partners and starts a family with someone of a similar background. I'm glad that they have an actual phrase to a sort of sociological data set phrase to basically describe the most common phenomenon in human relationships, in human romantic relationships and long-term partnership.
Basically, having any kind of discriminating taste at all.
He goes, it can be based on innate characteristics such as race and ethnicity or socioeconomic backgrounds. People have always engaged in assortive mating of some kind or another, but as social scientist Charles Murray, ding, ding, ding. Yo, those panties are dropping right now. explains in his book, Coming Apart, The State of White America, 1962 to 2010, there was a shift in a particular type of mating in the 60s, which continues to the present day.
Real quick, it's actually, sorry, never mind.
What?
I was actually just going to make a coming joke, but I was like, nah, that's not
I'm
even
coming
that funny.
apart at the gym. I'm coming apart in the Heritage Foundation. I'm coming apart at the
I feel like we've
campus.
made enough ejaculation jokes that I was just like, you know what? Hold back.
What if you had a grinder, but for only people who had the right opinion about Syria, and it was called Bathhouse?
Jared Labor goes on to basically
Labor.
just Labor, Jared Labor. He goes on to just basically restate Charles Murray's thesis about how there's like a cognitive upper class and cognitive lower class. I don't know. It just he's describing college educated and non-college educated white people, and the fact that, you know, if women nowadays don't have the opportunity to work as a secretary for a rich man, how are they going to marry him and get out of poverty? That's called class mobility. That's
Right.
that's what we're losing.
I'm still
now.
not getting how that makes Trump happen, though.
Well, what? Okay, I'm not going to read all of this, but he goes on to like say that, you know, we're just becoming more politically polarized because of assortive mating. He says assortive mating serves to intensify political polarization. It amplifies an already significant in-group, out-group mentality around contentious social issues, and this leads to more intense political tribalism, which leads to a candidate like Trump who can exploit even this, you know,
So is the
divide in our
argument that we
society.
should all just have these creepy James Carville marriages?
Yeah, I think. I mean,
are
he
you
doesn't-
saying that like if more GOP primary voters had fucked girls who went to
Sarah Lawrence?
Yeah, exactly. They would have voted for Marco Rubio or something.
Okay, he never actually gets prescriptive. He just describes it, and he goes, he says, in a less polarized environment, that shtick might be seen for the nonsense that it is. Or he says, he's like talking about this idea that the system, believing that the system is totally rigged against you. And he says, in a polarized world, people wouldn't believe, a less polarized world, people wouldn't believe that. But he says, in a world of ignorant voters and social stratifications, in which progressives who live in wealthy zip codes and small town conservatives share a mutual disdain for one another, you get stratification that populist blowhards can exploit. Humans naturally form groups, but when rampant partisanship is the foundation upon which the group lies, extreme politicians are most likely to win their sympathy.
So segregating by race, good. Segregating by politics, bad.
Yeah.
Well, to the degree to which it separates white people from the positive influence of wealthier white people who would keep them from acting like black people. At least that's how Murray puts it.
He closes out by saying, if a progressive doesn't want to date a conservative and vice versa, that's perfectly fine. So again, essentially your piece is pointless, but everyone has deal breakers. But as a political protest, this form of virtue signaling is counterproductive. Is counterproductive in the long run. So again, I really like.
How is it virtue signaling to not want to sit across the table and have a dinner with some fucking chud?
Okay,
who's
but-
gonna
I mean, the extension of
tell
that
you a bunch of bullshit that you
But
hear enough
that's
on
for
the fucking
relationships.
internet.
What about just for hooking up?
Well, it's virtue signaling when women don't come.
Well, okay, yeah, but
You're
if
virtue
you're just talking
virtue
about,
signaling.
Very cum-heavy episode.
if you're
that we're
just
having.
fucking, then what difference does any of it make? It's
What
not going to
difference?
have. It's not.
I mean, it
fucking-
does for women, though. Because
Right.
if you get pregnant
Yeah, that's
and
why.
the person is
exactly.
a psychopath,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why that should be probably.
And once again,
addressed.
all of this stratification is the result of these social decisions and not just a massive relocation of fucking wealth to the top that's happened over the last 40
But
years.
I just think, I mean, I think it's telling that an editor or anyone at the Federalist didn't push Jared to make a more specific point about, because he undermines his entire thesis at the end by going, well, people always have preferences and everyone has a deal breaker, and that's fine. But like, I think he should propose sort
No
of more of
fatties,
like,
let's not go crazy
Like,
here.
I think he should propose sort of a, I don't know, like a hearts and minds or sort of au pair program or sort of cross political dating. And people come out of their sort of political shells and sort of open up their mind and legs to different points of view.
That whole article is just that fucking. He's basically saying chicks that I go to insufferable Georgetown happy hours with.
I'm getting nothing.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going
what
nowhere.
That's all that is.
Well, I mean, this is all the harder to take because according to Rod Dreher in part 2 of this week's reading series,
Mr. Perfect.
Headline: Liberal women are lustier.
Oh, I hope this is some fucking shoe leather reporting.
And he has the headline, the banner image for this article is like a woman sort of peeking behind the shoulder of a guy winking and looking very sort of like come hither glance. However, the caption underneath the photo says, "Photo changed because some of y'all said the previous one was too damn hot." So Rod got his fans a little too riled up.
Do we have?
Yes, the original photo. The original photo is a woman, a brunette woman, like pushing up cleavage and like biting her lip. It's this.
You know that thing that women do.
It's just like it's from it's Shutterstock.
You guys, I gotta go.
He searched for like
I have to go for 5 minutes.
he searched for
I'll be back in exactly 5 minutes.
sexy woman on
Timing.
Shutterstock.
Rod Dreher's readers keep fully charged tablets filled with suggestive Getty images in a pile in the woods. And whenever,
Guys, we gotta wait. My eyes bulged out of my head so far that the stalks wrapped around each other and then the eyeballs hit and exploded.
Tangle.
Hey guys, it's Rod here. Just, I hate doing these, but another one of our commenters passed away last night. He saw a pile of dynamite with a wig and a red dress on it and went over there and tried to fuck it because that's just what a woman looks like. And he exploded and unfortunately exploded into blackface in the fashion of those cartoons. So we're going to be doing a fundraiser. They're trying to get him, they're trying to take away his posthumous pension for being racist. But really it was just the dynamite.
Every one of his readers has beat off to the sexy Bugs Bunny.
The actual Rod post itself is fairly dry. What he's doing is just restating the research presented in a new and unsettling book called Cheap Sex by Mark Regnerus, who, if you're brain damaged like I am, you may remember as a guy who was in vogue on the sort of academic right several years ago because he had a book or a study that seemed to use data and sociological research to prove that the children of gay parents suffer terribly because of it, which was, of course, instantly exposed as absolute hokum on even a cursory glance. They were like, he was like, instead of using gay parents, I think he used a data set that included any man that's ever had a gay experience, including ones married to women who are like, felons or whatever, and then used the data about how badly their kids turned out to like throw off the average caused by like, the people adopted by like, I don't know, 2 college professors or whatever. So this guy's an absolute bullshit artist, and he has a new book out about cheap sex, which is about changing practices of mating and marriage, and about,
I just really think it's very like cool and sexy and romantic that they call it mating.
Yeah,
that's great.
He's
keep making it sound real appealing.
I love mating with you, gangsta. Oh,
so no,
they're species, Loke.
And it's basically about how harlotry is on the rise, and they're very concerned about it. And apparently, these hoes ain't loyal. Yeah, apparently, liberal women, think about sex more often, and they say they want to have sex more often than conservative women.
What?
Which is like, again,
I just dropped both of the monocles out of my eyes.
I'm making fun of this, but like, I really think any study that purports to show that like one political affiliation is hornier or gets laid more than the other is absolute bullshit.
It's all bullshit.
Like, conservatives are horny as hell, as we've exposed many times, but they also get laid just as much as anyone else do. They have just as much problems with the opposite sex or the person they're attracted to as anyone else. This is a universal human foible and
fucking
condition.
Succubuses to everyone. They're taking everyone's life force. They're destroying men in court, in HR departments. It's committing. This is a bipartisan
Actually, the plural
issue.
is succubi.
You just saw it.
Yeah.
You just fucking saw it.
Yep.
See what they do just in a social situation.
Regnerus says in his book, in a world increasingly bereft of transcendence, sexual expression is emerging as an intrinsic value. I've read this. It's like his thesis is that like an increasingly secular world, people use sex to give the feeling of sacred and transcendent that religion and just, sort of praying 30 times a day did for people in colonial times or
Do
something.
you think
they
libs are
come
all
all the
having like
time.
weird sting tantra sex or something? Is that the?
I don't.
argument?
I think they also think that when they would back then when they would pray, they just came like geysers. Just, just spraying, knocking over the miters.
There's so much cum in
Yeah.
this episode.
No one was circumcised back then, and it's like if you were just above peasant, you put on like a silk garment for the first time. It would be like that special strip club underwear that lets you bust without a touch. Like just fucking constantly.
Liquid lap dance, they're called.
Yeah, like that's probably why Columbus's ships made it over. Just the hull was petrified in sailor cum.
This is literally, I think, the worst I've ever done on an episode, and I don't feel bad about it. I feel like it's being held together by
By
a
cum.
mortar of cum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Rod's actual article is fairly dry. However, the comment section,
He's a dry
Is
boy.
it?
yeah, the comment section is a
Soaking
joy.
wet.
Is a
Soaking
joy.
wet.
I want to highlight a couple from Rod's readers now. First one, Justin says, "I would add from my regrettable personal experience that."
Always a great way to start.
Please do.
Letter sent from my crawl space iPad.
I would add.
Letter sent for the emergency room while they try to take the knot out of my dick.
I would add from my regrettable personal experience that liberal women seem to enjoy sex less, including reaching.
With me. That's what that means.
It's like never
liberal.
any awareness. It's like
This woman didn't come. Clearly because of a
They're all
preference for progressive taxation.
Liberal women have this unrealistic idea about dicks that they're not supposed to be the exact dimension and temperature of a tuna can. This is this fucking insane shit they got from movies like
They got cultural Marxism.
yeah.
So he goes, regrettable personal experience that liberal women seem to enjoy sex less. And then in parentheses, it says, including reaching the fulfillment of the sex act less.
Coming.
Having an orgasm.
If someone said to me, "Have you fulfilled the sex act?" I'd never come again. So, congratulations, dude.
If you tell a woman,
that's what you say before you drink Kool-Aid with all of your friends.
Okay. They reach the fulfillment less because when they have sex, it's because of the same lack of perceived transcendent value in it. When having sex with me, they don't perceive a transcendent value in it. They try to remove their emotion from it because experience has taught them that it is psychologically devastating to have one's heart perceive any deeper connection or meaning in sex. After all, the relationship facilitating the sex act will end in a few months, years, or too often, the next morning. That being said, they seem much more interested in the superficiality of sex and pursue that for thrills, however elusive the thrills are and unsustainable it may be, to center one's sexuality around them.
He literally just said the problem with liberal women is that they enjoy sex too much, but not with me.
Mm-hmm.
and that they won't marry me immediately after. That's that
Yeah,
whole
it turns
emotional
out that
thing.
that's when someone proposes inside of you, it tends to not lead to a fulfillment of the sex act.
They call me Mr. Fall Asleep right inside of her, wake up with a ring.
In my experience, liberal sex is incredibly boring compared to meaningful, committed sex. Also, no judgment, but that pick is a bit much. In my honest opinion, Rod, to some other person, maybe my comment was too. So that's Justin checking in.
I know, I got too horny during Justin's comment.
Justin wrote that with his boner.
So this next one here comes courtesy of Joan from Michigan. So we're gonna hear both sides.
Yeah,
of it.
that's good. I'd like
Plus,
to hear from
I'd
the
like to hear from a woman.
Me, my liberal au pair, my conservative husband, plus me, Joan. From
So she
Michigan.
goes, since we're playing Explain This Finding, I've got an entry. I suggest that maybe it's about childhood experience. Specifically, I'm going to argue that growing up in a dysfunctional family predisposes people to apostasy, liberalism, and...
Apostasy.
Yeah.
Did I mispronounce that?
No,
Or-
no.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how you say it. I'm just saying, like, that's a weird leap.
Growing up in a dysfunctional family predisposes people to apostasy, liberalism, and disappointing sex lives.
Yeah, dude, ever since me and my dad didn't get along, I started worshiping a golden calf.
Here's the logic. See if you can follow. The defining characteristics of dysfunctional... I feel like this is like a Dear Prudie segment because it's one of these things where it's just like these comments give you such a view of these people's own family life and just sort of emotional inner lives. But he goes,
what they reveal with their observations is
the defining
true.
characteristic of dysfunctional families is that they are closed off to the outside world.
No.
How,
Not at all.
How many of you think that is the defining characteristic?
That's not defining of anything.
dysfunctional families?
That's insane.
No.
How many of those fucking quiverful weirdos never interact with anyone outside of their homeschooled compound?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't
Yeah.
call that dysfunctional?
Here we go.
Insularity is a
Here
pretty,
we go.
Yeah.
Here is the money. Here is the money graph, the money shot, if you will. So he says the defining is that they are closed off to the outside world.
Total bosh. Total bullshit.
Either they never have guests, or guests only enter one carefully maintained visiting parlor and are never invited into the part of the home where the family actually lives.
What? Was this person raised by Ed Gein's mother? What is this?
Yeah.
Dysfunctional families will only have guests in a carefully manicured visiting parlor.
They tend to have one room that's been boarded up and filled with nipple belts and lampshades made out of human skin.
Dysfunctional families, they're always like, hey, if I kill you, you're going to be my slave in the afterlife.
It's like a weird Midwestern kind of Philip Roth complaint.
Yeah.
Like my mother used to put plastic on the furnitures in the living room, and now I can't have a meaningful relationship.
Now I have a disappointing sex life.
Yeah.
So he goes, often, this is because the parents have shameful secrets.
Whoa.
Naturally,
Whoa.
Wow.
We're getting to a dark place.
Joan, what's going on, Joan?
naturally, such parents are not good role models for religious faith. Even if they drag the kids to Sunday worship every week, the kids are unlikely to stay in the faith after they leave home. Unless the dysfunction reaches criminal levels, in which case there may be a boomerang effect where kids glom onto church just to have some sanity in their lives, but those are actually relatively few. I'm talking here about typical middle-class lives of quiet desperation. Typical middle-class desperation.
Living in a
people.
haunted mansion.
With shameful secrets.
Have been living in a V.C. Andrews novel. Typical middle America.
Maybe your mom, she wanted a son instead, and so as a result, you date a vampire.
Like you
Joan from
run
Michigan.
a motel with your mother.
Yeah.
You are at the front desk. She's in the basement. It's not weird.
Typical middle-class lives that exist in a Shirley Jackson story. Dysfunctional families can also leave kids kind of stunted in the social skills department. They have a harder time getting laid because they don't know how flirting works, and they're too socially anxious to approach potential partners. Finally, coming from a dysfunctional family can leave a young person disillusioned with family altogether. In my youth, I held a very strong belief in the right of anybody to leave at any time, as the only thing that could curtail domestic abuse. This meant that there had to be a welfare state so that exercising one's rights...
Yeah, don't bang Denmark.
This meant that there had to be a welfare state so that exercising one's right to leave did not lead to destitution. All the individualism of consent culture flows from that. That's the end of the comment where Joan from Michigan says, when I was young and stupid, I believed women had the right to leave abusive relationships and not be left destitute because of it.
Instead, they should just be nailed up in the attic. Like every other good old middle American family. DM me. What's going on?
A couple more, just a few more quick hits. We can keep or cut this. I don't know. John Gruskos says, quote, very conservative women wisely married young, so they get as much as they want. Their husbands remember
as much
D as they want because they wisely married young and they're getting as much D as they want.
Right.
because of
It's
it.
actually really hard to get D when you're not married.
It's true.
It's
And marrying young, as we know from reams of research, is always a smart choice.
I just wander the streets. There are no men anywhere.
If you're unmarried, you have to basically wait until like a guy with a podcast likes an Instagram from 3 weeks ago. Is this the last one that had your face in it to like indicate that he's ready to mate? And that takes about he can only do that every 4 months. This is the normal male sexual drive.
Felix is actually half Vulcan.
Smart conservative women will marry young and as such will get as much as they want. Their husbands remember how beautiful and young and innocent they were the night they were married, and that memory will keep their husbands turned on even when the very conservative women are old and wrinkly.
Yeah, dude, I just...
I'm using this old wrinkled bag like a fucking fleshlight, imagining her when she was my child bride.
Oh, dude, this is fucking James Woods in Casino talking about when he saw her when she was like,
This is the most nightmarish
Can you feel
fucking thing.
Rod, can you feel me in your heart? Can you feel me in the pit of your stomach, Rod?
I told you not to talk to him anymore. He imagines things about bathrooms. He's bad news for you.
So
This sounds
that's
like-
the very conservative woman.
Yeah, that
the
sounds
very
like something
liberal
that would
woman, on the other hand,
only work in
wasted
theory.
their brief, beautiful years as corporate slaves and activist, useful idiots, and long ago threw away every shred of innocence. Now no one wants them.
I will not fuck a woman who's been to a protest. Their pussy's worn out. Like, if you march, just fucking loosens your pussy right up.
We've had too many signs up there. That's where we store the signs.
A man can only have sex with a woman over the age of 30 if he can close his eyes and imagine her nude at 17.
Yeah, dude, unless if you're a liberal woman, keep a little locket with a picture of yourself like the moment you had your quinceañera or equivalent celebration. Or else, like, this isn't going to work unless I can look at that while I give you, 3 minutes of extremely medium pumps. Like, we're not going to get married immediately after.
I can't imagine how hot the sex is where he's just like bearing down on top of her with his eyes screwed shut and just beads of sweat shooting off of his forehead, imagining that younger version of you.
Can we put your sophomore year yearbook on the nightstand? No reason why. No reason why.
Can you wear a sports bra? Those are a little big.
I just thought you would look really good in a scrunchie.
I'm for some reason I'm imagining Andy Daly from the first season of Eastbound and Down, where he's like just a little bit more, and we're done.
Yep.
So, last one. This is from GK. I assume Chesterton. Says this is simply because liberal women get less sex. They are typically of the feminist nerd or cat lady variety.
Oh, they haven't heard about epic nerd sex where my wife wears Cthulhu underwear. And I go, methinks a kraken lurks between these labia, my lady. Me and my wife love getting down with the nerd sex. Her and her sort of like dark or like velvet cake colored hair, because we also love red velvet cake. It's the only fucking cake we know because we're fucking shitheads who learned how to cook from Imgur because we have no skills and we're fucking dumbasses.
This is a
And we're gonna
new
have a fucking
thing that
shit
Felix
kid
is mad
who
about.
we fucking
They're probably
make
rockabilly.
dress up
They're-
like Wonder Woman. And yeah, her hair is that color, and she has like the thick glasses, and I just like pretend to be all the famous monsters from Firefly while I'm just fucking chowing down on her
I'm
fucking
gnawing
pussy.
off her bacon bikini top.
Yeah, she was wearing a fucking like red vine thing that we shaped like fucking Joss Whedon to the Women's March, and she had a sign that said "Science isn't an alternative fact," and I had to just take her into a porta potty stall and just fucking get my macros of sugar for the day, if you feel me.
Okay, so we've established that nerds definitely have sex.
They have sex.
They have
Yeah.
so
The
much
worst way.
gross sex
Ugh.
that none of us ever want to see.
So
They definitely get it.
if one of these feminist nerds or cat ladies, if they do land a man, he is typically a beta.
I'm not a fucking beta, dude.
My
I'm a moderator on Imgur.
In my experience, conservative women are more attractive and motherly, and thus attract more alpha type men that are more satisfying to them.
Yeah, alpha men
DJ,
want
run that
mommies.
back.
That's
Women, the conservative women tend to remind me more of mother, and as such are more attractive to an alpha
How
like
am I
me.
supposed to get hard to a woman who doesn't make me remember my mom standing over a stove with
Pulling
a
cookies
bunch
out
of
of the
cookies
oven
coming out of
and
the
an
oven?
apron.
Yeah, and nothing else.
Unless you put a fucking Power Rangers Band-Aid on my elbow, you're not getting this conservative dick.
This alpha D.
Yeah. I'm me compared to any liberal man, the alpha, the man who constantly comments on Rod Dreher's blog, which is just about imagined bathroom terror.
Oh, wow, you think that lady's hot? I can't imagine her changing my diaper.
And finally, GK says, and even if a liberal type woman can find herself a man who satisfies her, as soon as she gets married, she becomes more conservative. So it's just sort of like,
So if she's if she's having sex, she is conservative regardless.
definition.
By definition.
Yeah. It's the one true Scotsman kind
So,
of, but for boning.
again, it's a theme we come back to over and over again. Rod and his readers, extremely normal.
Just very
Regular
normal
guys.
Very normal
Regular
men
guys,
vibrating with orgasm.
red-blooded, normal American
Just
guys.
in front of the computer screen, vibrating with repressed sexuality. Every
Rod
moment of the day.
wakes up in the morning. He's
Picture
like,
of mom on the
picture of mom like
desktop.
Yeah, desktop, but her mom's head is like superimposed over like
Kathy Ireland's body.
yeah, Kathy Ireland's
Picture of
body.
mom, taxidermy of mom.
Rod just wakes up in the morning and he's like, readers, we feeling normal? They're like, yes, sir, Rod. By the way, you used a font that made the letter O look too much like a tit, and
You owe me a new keyboard, sir.
just fucking busted all over.
That's
my
what that
Doc
means.
Martens.
Usually, when you see that on the internet, you owe me a new keyboard. It means that they're implying that they spewed water out of their mouth, their nose, because laughing. When they say it to Rod, it means they nutted all over the keyboard.
Yeah, Rod, that V was very suggestive. Take that out of there. I love it. Rod probably gets a billion emails like that a day. Rod, you said social cleavage, and I just jacked off at work, and I'm fired now. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it definitely gets like daily handwritten letters from Norman Bates types.
Yeah, Rod's messages are sent to him by Raven.
Yeah.
Of just people who got too horny reading him or looking at stock images. Rod, you used clip art that implied that the clip art couple has had sex before. Could you please stop?
Please, no more clips from the Lockharts in your columns. Mrs. Lockhart is just too fucking sexy for me in her support hosts.
Rod, when the daughter in Family Circus said Pischetti instead of spaghetti, it made me feel things that were unchristian. They made me feel things that were transcendent in a way that wasn't religious.
Rod, in the moment I looked into Funky Winkerbean's eyes, I just fucking busted a wad straight over my computer. And because I haven't ejaculated in 35 years, it was just sort of like when you get a wad of silly string and just throw it at something.
That's a good place to end this episode with more cum.
It begins and it ends with cum.
Just like
life.
life. Just like life.
Yeah,
When you end, you just fucking nut all over your family.
I'm really looking forward to that final nut.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
All right, guys. Till next week. Till next
Bye-bye.
time.
Nut,
Bye,
in peace,
everybody.
nut fidelis. Semper nut.